All right, first things first. First thing you're going to want to do, whether you're playing with 3 or 4 finger picks, first thing you're going to want to do is just make sure that you can grab all 3 strings in each pairing, all consecutive, going across the strings. So you can turn the amp on and play, but you don't actually need to be able to, you don't need to turn the amp on if you don't want to. But I'll have mine on just for now. You can already tell I'm out of tune, but that part doesn't matter. You're just trying to make sure that you can go across the strings in a steady, even rhythm. Once you would develop being able to do this with, say, like half notes or quarter notes or whole notes or whatever tempo you can do that at, you could start to change the rhythm and sort of use this as a warm-up exercise. So right now, you can start at the bottom or you can start at the top. My thumb's on the bottom string, my index finger's on the next string, and my ring finger's on the next string. It doesn't matter whether you're playing a 6-string lap steel or a 12-string pedal steel. This is going to be a helpful exercise for you. Now my goal is I'm trying to let the set of strings ring until I go to pick the next set of strings. Now you'll notice at first when you're blocking, this is a palm blocking technique. You're mostly, like we talked about, blocking with this side of the palm and with these 2 fingers wrapped in. If you were playing with a 3rd finger pick, it would be mostly just your pinky and the rest of the heel of your hand there. So when you're going back and forth across the sets of strings, at first you're probably going to be getting used to the physical feeling of actually placing your hand to stop the strings from vibrating. So you're going to have a pause in it, and it'll sound probably more like this, where you're going. But eventually you want to be able to get that to where you can have that pause be basically instantaneous. It's going to happen at the exact same moment that you're going to strike the strings for the next note. All right, just continuing on with that same idea. Going back and forth across the string banks, you're going to want to practice that. It's probably not going to be too difficult for you to do a lot of the right hand physical movements. You're probably not going to have as much difficulty with either finger or pick blocking or doing things like banjo type rolls, seeing as you're coming from a fingerstyle type of playing from guitar and from playing banjo. So you're probably not going to have trouble doing things like as you're getting, I think there's some sort of power curve or what do you call that? Some sort of difficulty slope that usually centers around the blocking. There's a bunch of different kinds of blocking, and we'll go over all of them. And the bottom line there is you want to be able to block with palm blocking or pick blocking. There's techniques you can use with your left hand to block notes as well. So there's all kinds of different things. And if you ask anybody when they played one certain passage or exactly what they did, they probably couldn't tell you because they probably did a combination of maybe at least 2 different kinds of blocking just to complete a passage. So We'll look at each one of them one at a time, and the more you do it, the more you'll get comfortable with it. Okay, so as far as left hand is concerned, with the bar, get used to trying to move the bar. You can sight the frets. Just know that if you're sitting at the guitar from a bit of an angle, you might have to, you know, if you were directly over it, it may be a little bit shifted left or right. So I would practice trying to go chromatically, just one fret and then the next. And eventually you want to get this kind of a thing into the muscle memory in your arm where you're able to go 2-3 frets at a time, no problem, and you don't have to think about it so much. Obviously, as you can see, the distances between the fret markers on the lower end of the guitar is larger than on the shorter end of the guitar, or the higher end. So you'll have to get used to getting muscle memory to be making much smaller movements to stay in tune up towards the top. And that's just one of those things that's just going to take practice. There's no other way around it other than just doing it. So that's what I want you to practice as far as right hand and left hand goes. You can kind of pick any exercise you want with left hand if you get bored doing one fret marker at a time. You can go for 2 at a time. You can go for 3 at a time. You can go back and forth. You could pick a couple of strings as you do it. The goal is going to be able to start to put together some basic building blocks for some warm-ups and some exercises that'll really start to get things under your fingers. And we'll kind of pair this up with just physical movements, left hand and right hand stuff, combined with actual musical application. So, hey, where's the scales? How do I play the scales? Okay, how do I play it in single notes? How do I play it in single notes on other parts of the neck? How do I play it vertically? How do I play it horizontally? We'll take a look at, okay, how do I play my scales in thirds? How do I play them in sixths? How do I play them in triads? And maybe we can eventually get to full chords, a la Barry Harris style. That stuff can get pretty tricky, particularly with the you have to be able to slant and string pull at the same time to try and get a 4-note chord that's switching between 6-chord diminished. But we don't have to jump into all of that just yet. We'll build our way there systematically and methodically. The other thing I want you to take a look at, once you feel comfortable grabbing all 3 sets of strings, or 3 consecutive strings, should I say, and you can take that same, you can add left hand and right hand together, and you can go up and down the strings. I think you probably saw that exercise in the Cindy Cash Dollar DVD, but that's a good one to just kind of get your hands familiar with going back and forth across the strings, grabbing at least 3 strings at a time. From there, you can start to experiment with rolls and things like that, depending on how much time you spend before we jump into the first lesson. The other thing I would do, since you have a couple of 6th tunings at your disposal. This is currently tuned to C6. I tuned it up in between the videos. This is E on the top, so from top to bottom, E, C, A, G, and then the same thing again, E, C, A, G. So nothing tricky or complicated for now, just C6 straight across with the 3 on the top. What we will do is we'll look at chord grips that are major versus minor. So C6 is also A minor 7. So the A, what is that? A minor with the 6 in the bass. No, that's not right. At any rate, C6 is also A minor 7. And within that, we can make C major triads and A minor triads. And so I want you to be able to skip certain strings. So for example, if we were playing C major, then you would want to skip the A string, which is the 6. So being able to go from grabbing strings 1, 2, and 4 and skipping 3, and then go down to the next set of strings, 2, 4, and 5, skipping 3. Now hitting 4, 5, and 6 all together. And now skipping 7 to hit 8, what is that? 5, 6, and 8. So and then you would want to be able to do the same thing with the minor, which would just, that would be A minor. So you'd want to skip the G, which would be your 4th string. So you'd want to do the top 3, A, C, E. Skip the 4th string, 2, 3, and 5. Then 3, 5, and 6. And then 5, 6, and 7. And so that's just a pattern that you want to get used to. Otherwise, if you're only practice being able to go, so you go, you know, it's basically always going to sound like that 6th sound. And if you are playing simpler music and like for example, if we jump into some of the Hank Williams tunes, it's like very clear that on the 1 chord they're not playing the 1/6 chord. So that's something that we'll look out for. So a couple of things you're working on. You're working on grabbing three consecutive strings all in one go. You may have heard this referred to as a grip. So you're going to grip 3 consecutive strings, just be able to go all the way across. Doesn't matter what tuning, doesn't matter if your amp's on. It's literally about the physicality of, can you grab 3 strings in a row? Can you get used to the string spacing? And then can you keep them vibrating until you strike the next strings? So you're practicing palm muting while you're doing such a thing. You're practicing articulating 3 at a time and muting. Your left hand exercise is you're going to just literally practice. You don't even need to use the right hand. Just cite the fret marker and practice going individually. You know, go 12 up, go 12 back. You could go 2 up, you know, let's see, 1, 2, back 1, 1, 2, back 1. You know, you could come up with any number of exercises, but do something like that every time you sit down at the steel guitar. Do something with the right hand, do something with the left hand individually so you can think about those things. You can then combine those same 2 exercises together. You can go up and down the strings. And so on and so forth. Again, you know this from playing music already, and I imagine you know what it takes to practice. Go slow before you go fast. Get it right, get it dead on, slow, and then speed it up slowly. Once you've added your left and your right hands together, I want you specifically thinking about trying to be able to grab major triads and minor triads and just focusing on, okay, which string am I skipping? Get familiar with that on your C6. If you want to mess around with that on your A6 neck, it would just be a different string that you're skipping. But it's the same idea. All right, that's it for now. And we'll check in when we do the lesson.